Hold on to your seats, ladies and gentlemen. You've got some more geography fun coming your way. All right. I can't dress it up. We are doing some revision. But with that in mind, let's get started. Today, we're going to look at population change in the UK. And I think the first thing to point out is that 82% of the UK's population live in urban areas, with 1 in 4 people in the UK living in London or the South East. So that's down here, large concentration of people. The location of the UK's major cities reflect its industrial and colonial past, with many cities occupying sites near where coal was found or sources of materials like iron ore. So for example, we have Leeds, we have Sheffield, and we have Manchester that all fit that bill, as well as Glasgow up in Scotland. So these cities grew because of their proximity to resources such as coal and iron ore, which fueled the Industrial Revolution in the UK. Other cities grew for slightly different reasons. So we can have a look at the capitals of England, which is London, of Wales, which is Cardiff, and of Scotland, which is Edinburgh. And they grew for primarily administrative functions. So Edinburgh, Cardiff, and London. Of course, London was the capital not only of England, but of the United Kingdom and of the wider empire. So it became a really major city, and its position on the River Thames and as a major port only emphasised that position, and it became a major global city at the heart of an empire. But other cities also developed as a result of their location in natural ports, such as Bristol, which can be found on the River Avon. And Bristol is one of the cities, or the city, that we're going to look at in more detail as a case study. Now, as the UK has moved into the more modern era, we've had changes in the way that the population is distributed. So one of the things to note is that over time there has been a drift of population from north to south. And that is because London has maintained its position as a global city, as a financial centre, where a lot of industry, a lot of the economy is based, and so lots of jobs are created here. So there's been a gradual drift from north of England to the south of England around London. We've of course also had wave after wave of migration into the UK. The most recent and obvious one would be from the EU, when we were still members of the EU. But migration is continuing, and those migrants tend to focus and settle in cities. So that is going to further exaggerate the trend of urbanisation. Those migrants also tend to be younger and do tend to have add to the natural increase through birth. So these are two major trends that suggest that big cities in the south are going to increase in population. However, there are some smaller trends that are worth noting in richer countries like the United Kingdom. As people get older and finish working, they are tending to migrate to the coast, and that tends to be for retirement, to have a lovely sea view, calm environment, and it's kind of relaxing for older people. So retirement, and we put the coast in there. More recently, we've seen a move for younger people moving into the rural areas to remote work. Now that's been made possible by technology such as the internet, mobile phones, Skype, and all the like. I think Zoom's the most recent. And then added to that has been our recent experience in the pandemic of COVID-19, which has really accelerated this trend of remote work and people moving out of big cities. It's perhaps too early to tell just how much of a trend this is and whether it's the dominant one, but we should refer to it, and it's called counter-urbanisation. So like you have clockwise that goes around one way, and then we say anti-clockwise goes around the other. This is basically the reverse of urbanisation. So instead of moving to cities, people are moving out of cities. Counter-urbanisation. Around major cities like London, we tend to have high population densities where lots of people are living within 1 kilometre squared. So we find that in the lowlands and around the major industrial or ex-industrial cities, up here in the lowlands of Scotland as well. However, the UK does also have lots of areas of sparse population where not many people live, like particularly the Highlands of Scotland and of Wales, because the climate is often less favourable, it's colder and wetter, and the access by roads into mountainous areas is not as easy, and so people feel less connected, and the population in these areas doesn't grow as much. 4-mark question. These are some of the points you could have made. So, all of the cities marked on this map are major UK cities. They are of national importance. And the one that we're going to take a deep dive into and look at closely is Bristol. So Bristol is a city of around 500,000 people. It is it is the largest city in the southwest of England. So that is this region here. So Bristol acts like a capital to this quite a large peninsula that is found in the southwest of England. Because it is a large city, it generates a lot of opportunity, and we also see a lot of migration to Bristol from the rest of the UK. Now let's look at some of the reasons for that migration. One is that it is a large tech hub, particularly for the silicon chip industry. So you get a lot of people who are enticed by the ability to earn money in a new sector. Not that kind of chip, you fool. We're talking silicon chips that go in computers and everything electrical, from dishwashers to cars. So it's one of the largest concentrations of silicon chip manufacturers in the world. This creates lots of jobs and encourages graduates from over the UK to come to Bristol. It also has a vibrant music scene, so it's encouraging people to go and take advantage of seeing live music, as well as a nightlife with nightclubs. This is my glitter ball. So people also will be attracted to Bristol for all the offerings it has of evening entertainment. Other things that will attract people are also things such as the zoo. This is going to be an elephant. You have to work with me here. See, the trunk is the saving grace. So there's a zoo. Again, cultural activities that people are encouraged to move and live near. There's also the theatre and lots of big shopping centres. So all of these things make Bristol an attractive city to live in, and we can refer to those as cultural and leisure opportunities, and that boosts the national tourism industry and again creates jobs. As well as that, Bristol finds itself with 2, not 1, but 2 cathedrals. One is an Anglican and one is a Catholic cathedral. This will encourage people to visit or to live if they can be close to the church that they are a member of. And finally, Bristol has 2 universities. Let me just make this up. 2 universities, which are Bristol University and the University of West England. So students from all over the UK will apply through UCAS to go to Bristol universities because they're good and they know that they can also take advantage of all these exciting cultural and leisure opportunities. So it's a very attractive city to young people. So these are the reasons why Bristol is a nationally important city to which people from around the UK will migrate to. Let's do some questions. Starting off then, what was the reason for growth of cities like Manchester, Leeds, Sheffield? That's right, they were close to or had a proximity to coal or iron ore, which is important for industry. Why did London develop as a major city in the UK? Good, yes, it was the capital of the United Kingdom, so it fulfilled that administrative function, but it was also the capital of an empire where goods would be imported to its docks and exported out into the rest of the world. So a major area of trading and of financial industries developing. So what about Bristol? Moving on to our chosen city. Why is Bristol? Why did that develop as an important city? Yes, the same as London. Initially, it was an important port city where goods were imported and exported, particularly tobacco from the colonies, which and rather less glamorously, or neither of them are glamorous in particular, but definitely not, slavery was also at the centre of Bristol's wealth. So it's can be said that Bristol was built on tobacco and slavery. So not necessarily the proudest of histories, but it did make it rich and has turned it into one of the UK's major cities today. Talk to me about how the UK's population might change in the next 20 years. What trends are we seeing? Good, that's one of them. The population is a general drift from the north to the south, so cities like London becoming more populated as the northern areas lose people. Another trend? Good, migration from outside of the United Kingdom, and they particularly go to cities, so that's kind of strengthening our trend of urbanisation. And finally, what is counter-urbanisation? Good, it's the moving out of cities to the more rural areas. Can you tell me 2 things that have encouraged counter-urbanisation in rich countries like the UK? That's right, retirement, where people might move to the coast or a nice countryside setting, but also people who are now able to remote work from their home in the country because of technology, and also because they don't like the idea of pandemics like COVID-19, they have also started to move to rural areas, and that is counter-urbanisation. Nice one. Right then, tell me why young people might be attracted to move to Bristol. Good, yes, it's got 2 big universities and it's got a lot of cultural and leisure activities like the zoo, like nightclubs and music venues. What about high quality, highly skilled graduates from other universities in the country? Why might they move to Bristol after they have graduated? Yes, we have a large technological industry developing in Bristol. We have particularly silicon chips being a major product that is produced there and provides jobs for high skilled graduates. Very nice. There we go. That is the UK population change, and also particularly looking at Bristol and how it is growing. Pause the video, answer this 4-mark question. These are some of the points you could have made. So, Bristol is an important national city for the United Kingdom, but it is also an international city. So what makes Bristol an international city, that establishing links with other parts of the world? Well, first of all, Bristol is located on the M4 corridor, which is the motorway, the M4, which runs directly to London. And from London, there is good access to the major ports of the UK, so that goods can be traded with the rest of the world by boat, and also excellent rail links that allow goods and people to travel freely, relatively freely after Brexit, but still to travel to the European Union and do business. So that's one of the big corridors, M4 corridor. That's one of the big reasons that Bristol is a successful international city, because of its links to the EU via a great road and rail network. It also has an international airport, and that allows regular flights and connections to EU cities and to the USA. So international businesses can be attracted to Bristol because of its connections. Also, Bristol has changed its economy over time. So from the more traditional industries that made it rich originally, like tobacco, so traditional industries, it has morphed into a much more modern day set of industries. So lots of financial services are located in Bristol. There are also, rather less virtuous, but there are also quite a lot of defence companies that operate around and near Bristol. The aerospace industry has also taken off in Bristol, largely thanks to big investment by Airbus, but also Rolls-Royce have operations in and around that area too. So our aerospace industry. Finally, more recently, we've talked about technology. We've got high technology startups with chips, but also animation and various other things to do with technology. All of these things encourage international investment from big multinational corporations. We call that FDI, or foreign direct investment. So you've got companies like BMW, Germany. You've got companies like Airbus, which is a European kind of multi-country operation, and also Siemens, who are investing lots of money into the UK, building factories and generating employment. So all of this investment is going to, from foreign companies, is another link to international kind of entities making Bristol an international city. Finally, let's go back to those universities. We have UE, the University of the West of England, and the University of Bristol, both of which attracting graduates from around the world, from the United States, from Europe, from African countries and Asian countries, to gain an excellent education in a British university. Another link to countries around the world that makes Bristol an international city. I think I said finally for the last one, but let's also talk about migration. Migration has been occurring to the UK for decades, and a lot of that migration has been focused onto cities like Bristol. So Bristol has a distinct international flavour, which we are going to look at next. But before that, let me ask you a couple of questions. What transport connections connect Bristol to the rest of the world? Very good. It's got road and rail networks connecting it to Europe via London, and it also has an international airport to connect it to European cities, as well as the United States of America and other parts of the world. Nice one. How has industry and the type of economy in Bristol changed over the years to make it more international? Pause it now, answer completely for yourself, and then listen to my answer. That's right, it's moved away from the traditional industries like tobacco to more modern industries that require it to have global links. So lots of finance and financial flows easily cross oceans from North America to the UK. Defence contracts and companies operating that then have deals and operations with other countries around the world. Aerospace industry, invested heavily in by Rolls-Royce and Airbus, is an international market which Bristol is an important player in. And finally, those high-tech companies like the silicon chip manufacturer or animation, again requiring the movement of people and ideas from around the world. All of that has led to investment in Bristol. Which companies have invested in Bristol? Correct, BMW, Airbus and Siemens. Why might young people from around the world be tempted to this international city of Bristol? Great, because it has two good universities, the University of West of England and the University of Bristol, so they can get an excellent education. Very good. Let's move on and look at the effect of migration to Bristol. Pause the video, answer this 4-mark question. These are some of the points you could have made. So international migration to Bristol has been going on for many decades, but it now accounts for 50% of Bristol's growth is coming from immigration. So 50% of growth is from immigration. Most recently, that's been from EU countries like Poland. But in the not too distant past, we also had a lot of immigrants from India and Pakistan, as well as Jamaica. Those last 3 countries, former colonies, if you like, but part of the Commonwealth, and welcomed to the UK to come and work. Now, the arrival of immigrants for work, generally it is work for economic advantage, causes or creates some opportunities for the host country, the UK, but it also provides or creates some challenges as well. So we're going to have a look at those opportunities and challenges posed by immigration to Bristol. The first thing to note is that immigration provided a willing and hard-working workforce that was engaged in lots of different industries, from hospitality, and here I have a person that's meant to be a vacuum cleaner doing cleaning, but also in hotel work, in cooks and kitchens. So hospitality is a big industry that many of the immigrants worked in. Also, many immigrants, particularly the male immigrants, would be involved in construction, helping to build the new industries that were setting up in Bristol. Crucially, many work in healthcare, nurses, doctors, and help look after the vulnerable parts of our society. As well as that, a large proportion found themselves working in transportation, on the buses, the trains, and helping to connect Bristol to the wider world. Very important jobs which without immigrants would be hard to staff and therefore result in a lower quality of service for all of the citizens of Bristol. But apart from these hard-working and willing workers, the immigrants also brought with them their culture, which lends itself to different types of food being introduced and different ways of eating food, such as the curry takeaway, as a very obvious example, but Chinese food, as well as food from other parts of the world. Another part of culture that became embedded in Bristol and UK life is music and dance, all of which is enriching British society. In Bristol in particular, we have the example of the St. Paul's Carnival, a celebration of African and African Caribbean culture that aims to integrate the European and African Caribbean cultures, this is my party popper, and help people understand those different cultures and bring people together. Crucially, Bristol has a large proportion, as do most of the UK cities and the UK in general, a large proportion of elderly people. So if we put the elderly people in my set of scales with their walking sticks, so elderly population, they're not working, they're not paying taxes, and they need a lot of support in things like healthcare and housing. So to balance that out, our immigrants are young, having lots of children, but crucially, they're young people, paying taxes to contribute to the economy, having children to balance out all the old people, boosting the economy, and also acting in roles that are directly beneficial to elderly populations like carers and healthcare workers. There we go. So lots of positive opportunities as a result of immigration to Bristol. However, there are also some challenges which we're going to look at now. Lots more people arriving in an area has created some pressures on services such as housing and also healthcare where more people will need to see doctors, and schools, so education services. Particularly for education, when people arrive from foreign countries, they often are greeted but may have language barriers that need addressing and correcting. So money is needed to be spent on English as an additional language in schools, and that is expensive. So there are issues with a growing population and how services can support the whole of the society. Equally, those vibrant and different cultures of the migrants might not always be readily accepted by the UK nationals. So foreign cultures can be difficult to integrate, so there's a problem with integration. That's something that needs work from lots of different organisations to support. So, there are some challenges to international migration to Bristol, but there are also lots of opportunities which have helped make the city and the country richer, both economically and culturally. Let's have some questions. What kind of industries do immigrants to the UK tend to work in? Yep, hospitality, construction, healthcare and transport. Lots of others as well, but they tend to be the main ones. Culturally, how has Bristol and the United Kingdom benefited from migration from people overseas? Exactly, so we have things like different types of food, music and dance that we haven't seen before, and cultural events like St. Paul's Carnival in Bristol, celebrating African and African Caribbean culture. Why are these young migrants coming to Bristol important in terms of the population balance? That's right, they balance out the elderly population that is present in Bristol. And in what way do they help to balance that elderly population? Great, they're paying taxes that might contribute towards healthcare services. They're having children who will educate themselves, grow up, and also pay taxes. They boost the economy, and they might even directly act as carers to support our older people. What are some of the challenges upon services of a large migrant population? Good, there might be too many people, so there'll be a shortage of housing. We say a housing shortage. Healthcare, might not be enough doctors to see people as regularly as we would like, and schools end up having to pay quite a lot of money to give new immigrant children training in English as an additional language so that they can succeed at school. What's the flip side to our positive parties, music and food in terms of culture? What might the challenges be? Good. These foreign cultures are not always easily integrated, and we may see examples of racism, or maybe not quite as extreme as racism, but xenophobia, which is fear of foreign basically, so ideas, cultures, people who come from somewhere else. Okay, and just to finish, which kind of countries have seen populations migrating to Bristol in the past? Poland, India, Pakistan and Jamaica. Well done. go, just to remind you. And what percentage of Bristol's growth is thought to be as a result of immigration? 50%. Easy peasy. Okay, well there we go. That is Bristol and its setting in the UK, and why people from around the UK and the world are attracted to migrate to Bristol, and the effects that that has in terms of opportunities and challenges. There are some questions coming up which I suggest you take time to write a full answer to, and then check back on the video to see if you've included all the points that you need. Good luck, have fun, bye bye. Pause the video and answer this 6-mark question. These are some of the points you could have made and developed